Alright. I think the first question, I think people are gonna want to know, do I like the remake? I would say, for a little bit of backstory before I give you that answer. In terms of my horror game experience, it mainly came from Resident Evil. One of the first horror games I ever played, funny enough, was like RE4 and 5 on like PS3 era-ish. As well as if we're gonna, and I'm looking at my shelf, I would throw Dead Space in there too, as well. But that's besides the point. I remember mentioning this I remember a stream when I was talking about E3. Silent Hill 2 was one of the games that was rented quite a bit from game. We had like an old like Hollywood video, and Silent Hill 2 was a game that I should not have played. And when we rented it, I sneakily played it at night, and I didn't understand it. But understood it way later on, but I fell in love with it. And I only recently replayed it with the Enhanced Edition on my laptop just about a year and a half ago? Something like that? And yeah, it's not, this isn't my favorite Silent Hill, but I do agree with people, it is regarded as the best one. Just because of how influential it is. Now, would I say that this remake is good? I would say yes. Blurs are gonna put up the bit. I mean, flashback to like, what was it, 2021? I think I was doing a stream of Kana, and that's when the first Silent Hill transmission came on and showed this. And I remember the first moment the Blooper Team logo came on, I was like, oh no. Flash forward back to now, I'm astounded. Super astounded. Like, the problem with Silent Hill 2 is that you can't play it unless you have a physical copy or a PC to run the Enhanced Edition. There's no other way to do it. Every other way of playing it either costs so much money or is a very invalid version. The only other version that you could technically play is the HD collection that was on 360 and PS3, but it was super buggy, and it's not really the best version to play. It was during that time when Konami released really scuffed HD collections. But I think with this, I think for people that have not played the original game, and, you know, I'd argue that there are people that don't want to even go through the effort of trying to play through the original, and I highly recommend people do. I think this is a good enough replacement. I don't want to say replacement, but a good enough alternative to play it. Because I think, in terms of like the way the story is presented, the original does it better in a lot of aspects. But the gameplay here is miles better. I'm not kidding you. It's nice that the melee combat is not invalidated once you get the first gun. Like, it actually felt fun to go toe-to-toe with the nurses in the hospital and have the mannequins juke you so you can't mash melee when you're trying to do stuff. That felt really fun to do. So the gameplay in this carries it by a mile for me. And I gotta say, like, this reaches like a solid like near A game for me. Because one thing that they did nail is the atmosphere. Just the opening like hours of walking down the forest, meeting Angela in the graveyard, and then just full on, they just replicated the full, poof, you're in the town now, have fun figuring it out, idiot. You're about to get lost, have fun checking the map every 10 seconds. They nailed that. Because that gave me the original game vibes where it's like, yeah, I could see people dropping the game here because they'll be really confused where to go. Because once you get into Woodside, the apartments, that's where it really kicks off. I'm proud to admit that, yeah, I'm an idiot, I'm wrong. Because I was gonna give this game a fair bit of a shot. I didn't want to call it shit without playing it. And I'm glad I was wrong. I'm glad that Silent Hill's in a place now where it can be good. It's been way too long since then. Because I have been waiting for any kind of new horror game to meet that quota, and nothing really has. But I think here they've accomplished what they needed to do. I think Bloober Team has proved to themselves that, yeah, as long as someone is watching over our shoulders so we don't mess anything up, we can make good games. Yeah, dude, this... I almost cried at the end. Like, they nailed the same feelings by the very end of the game for me. And the freaking... the new stuff that they added, the fact that they extended a lot of stuff that they didn't even need to do is incredible. I think the only part where it dragged on a bit too long is Brookhaven. I think the stuff that they made longer in Brookhaven Hospital was a bit too long. I remember the stream, I was there for like 5 hours. And in the original game, it's like, it does not take that long. So kudos to them for adding more to it, but I think there was a bit of a pace killer of what they moved around and did. But it did not affect the whole experience by any means, because once you get to the prison, it's pretty much one-to-one by then, with, albeit, some puzzle changes that they have made. Yeah, I'm very, very happy with what I've played. I'm just taking it all in, honestly. I think one other thing I should note is the voice acting. James is... I need to look up who, where's my phone? I need to look up the name. I know it said it in the credits, I just missed it. I need to look up his name. The guy who plays James kills it. I would not be surprised if he is nominated for an award at the Game Awards this year. I would not be surprised. Of course, like, guys see he is a... well, okay, that was the thing that I was concerned about, was almost the Twin Peaksy, like, otherworldly aspect of the voice acting. That, sure, it was, quote, bad in the original game, but that added to the experience in a really funny way, because that just added to the otherworldly feeling of it. But here, I think they nailed it. Luke Roberts frickin' killed it. I can't now imagine James's voice without him. I think also Laura's VA killed it. I think she was absolutely one-to-one with the original voice. They didn't really need to change much with her at all. Maria, I think, is the only one that had moments where it was just kind of like, what? Just the one scene in particular in the jail cell is kind of where it's like, you're missing the point. But other than that, with scenes like this bit in Heaven's Night and when you first meet her, I think are great. It's little things like that add on to more for Maria's character and adds more depth to the story, in my opinion. Just the little things like that do a lot. And who was Angela. I think there was one bit with Angela at the beginning, and concerning the trailers, I was a bit concerned about, but oh, thank you, controller. I really appreciate you bringing the mood. But yeah, Angela's, I think, was good. Eddie, okay, here's the funny thing about Eddie is that his voice was good. But the whole, like, the thing that... well, I'm getting into spoilers a little bit, but there were some lines of his that I think were a bit too manipulative. And that's not really akin to his character that much. Eddie's not trying to be manipulative. That's the best way I can put it. Other than that, yeah, I think yeah, I think other than that, I think the voice acting was just good. It served its purpose in trying to help nail the atmosphere entirely. And I'll give also Maria/Mary's voice actress some credit. One bit that I was hoping was still in here was the bit at the very end of the game, near the end of the game, in a hallway, and I'm being as spoiler-free about this as possible, where Mary, James is hearing like a recollection of Mary, and it's very hard-boiled dialogue. It hits you right in the gut. I won't say what she says, but she nails it there. And that was the part I was worried they were going to cut, but they didn't. There wasn't really a lot. I wouldn't say there wasn't that much they cut. I'm probably forgetting something because this is just coming fresh off my mind. But yeah, I'm overall pretty damn happy with this. And I think as well, just their and now I'm kind of inching into spoilers a little bit just because I want to talk about it. The Abstract Daddy fight is a humongous. It's probably the best expansion they could have done. They made that, like, expanded Angela's backstory to make it a bit more clear for probably people who don't really get it. And sure, the original fight was in this really tight, enclosed room, which was the whole point. And they, at first I was like, oh, they got rid of it. By the end of it, nope, it's still here. So yeah, there's... And the new stuff they added along with... Oh, I could gush about it forever, but... All in all, I think this is absolutely solid. I think this is definitely up there with all the other survival horror remakes that are coming out now. And I think that Konami was definitely put on pressure from Capcom to put out something as good as this. Because if this flopped, that would have sucked. But dude, after this, the biggest take I can have is that I want to see them try to remake 3. Because the thing about 3 is that it's not very long. 3 you could beat in 4 hours. 5 hours tops if you're stuck. Because there is a lot that you can do with that to make it a longer game just like this. The original Silent Hill 2 took about like 6 to 8 hours, depending on how stuck you got. Here, it took me nearly 18 hours. So imagine what they could do for Silent Hill 3. That is an entirely different video in itself, because out of the 4 original games made by Team Silent, the 3rd game is my favorite one. Just because I would love to see what they would do for a modern take with Heather. That is important to me. Because there is just so much they could do with that. But I'm detracting now. But I think if I'm... But I think one more thing to add to that is that if they're going to remake that, they have to remake the first game first. But that's a whole other ordeal. Anyway, I'm detracting. But to give this game a rating, and I do hate doing this sometimes, I think for a Silent Hill nut like myself and a survival horror nut, I think this is a solid 8 or 8.5. Just because of the like coming critically from a Silent Hill fan, I think just critically this is a good 8 or 8.5. Just because of some little things in there that did kind of make me go, I don't know why it's like that. But if I was coming through this from a non-biased perspective, like that I've played the original, like say I haven't played the original game, I think this would be easily a 9. So, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it's just if I'm taking all the critical spots that I've been being a bit nitpicky about it away, it's a 9. Put them back in, it is an 8.5 just because of how I was feeling. Which, again, it's not a bad thing. It's just the little things that aren't exactly fitting. But it did not impact the overall experience I had. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I took the time to stream it. And yeah, dude, I'm just happy to say that Silent Hill is good again. It is so good for me to say that. I'm glad that we're now shying away from just these horror games that would just be, you know, oh, run and hide, you can't really do anything about the monsters that you're dealing with. Oh, wait for the monster to leave the room, now you can do stuff. I'm looking at you, Amnesia. You know, stuff like that. I'm glad that proper survival horror games are coming back. Stuff like Resident Evil, Fatal Frame got a new, like, remaster, like, not that long ago. And yeah, now Silent Hill. Now we just need, like, Rule of Rose or Haunting Ground to come back in a proper remaster or remake, and that will be the, I guess you could say, the Holy Trinity.